So I'm putting together a quick tutorial video to try and help the PESUni guys, get people onto their option files. So there's going to be a couple of parts to it. I'm going to run through the option file stuff first, and then we'll jump into the PlayStation stuff. So you can see I'm currently working off my Mac. I'm using PS4 Remote Play, so I've got the PlayStation running in the background. We're going to have to do a bit of work. So the first step is to prepare your option files that you've downloaded. So if you've got access, obviously grab those option files, drop in your password into the zip folder, hit done, and that will extract to your selected location. So this is the first step, obviously, once you've downloaded the files, getting the files prepared. Now, there are a couple of options with regards to how you import your files, and I'll run through them and try to explain them as best as I can. So we've got our PES folder. What you'll also need is a USB stick or an external hard drive. I've got a Samsung T5 for the simple reason that it is a super quick SSD. And it just makes it a lot easier to work with these files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this PES folder into my external hard drive or SSD. You can see 1.6 gigs, less than a minute, pretty quick. So definitely recommend using one of these if you have one handy. I've also got the Classics V1 option file as well, but I've actually already imported that. So I've got that available on my hard drive already, so I'm just going to use that one. Now, jumping into the PES, a couple of options that you've got here when you're importing. So I'll run through how I like to do it, but I'll also run through a particular example of what you might want to do. So with regards to the PES option files, you can see in here we've got the MLS. Now, the PESUni Legends guys also work on some Classics teams. Unfortunately, we can't bring all of those files and all of those teams and players into the game under the one PlayStation user profile. So what I personally prefer is to import the Classics, because we get a whole range of legendary players that we can utilize in Master League. So I just prefer having those players available to me as opposed to the MLS players. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually swap out all of the MLS files for the Classics files. So I'm just going to grab this MLS folder and I'm going to drag it into a preset folder that I've created, which is PES 2021 option files. The next step, once you've removed that, is just kind of go through and identify if there are any other teams that you may not want to import. So relegated teams, you've got Classics teams, Legends, and also a really important part is that we've removed the MLS. We also need to remove anything to do with the MLS as far as images or TED files are concerned. So jumping into competitions, what we need to do here is try to identify the files that we need to remove. So we've got MLS, MLS Cup. Also, I'm not going to be importing the J1 League, which is the Japanese league. I think what I'm going to do is wait for the Classics option file number 2 and import that instead. So I'm going to remove the Japanese stuff for the time being. Now, I don't think that there are any Japanese images included in this, so it actually wouldn't be too much of a hassle if you did import those league files. So it is up to you. You can leave them. In this instance, screw it, let's just leave them. So I'm going to grab these 2 MLS files because we don't want to import them, and I'm just going to drop them into this folder that we're not going to use. Jumping into the logos as well, this is somewhere where you probably do want to make sure that you remove any logos that you're not using. So we can see there we've got this MLS logo, so that's for the league. We've got the MLS Cup logo, so we want to remove those 2 items. And then we've also got the J1 League, which is the Japanese league, the Japanese Cup, which is the YBC Louvain Cup, and the Japan Super Cup. So we want to make sure that we remove these, because any images that you import that you're not going to be using is just going to take up space for files that you will actually want to use. Now on that, having a second thought, I might actually just remove those items. So the J1 League Cup, I have a feeling that the Fuji Xerox Super Cup is the Japanese Super Cup, so I'm going to remove that as well, just to prevent any issues when I import the classics down the track. So we've got all of our competition files, we've got our teams that we want to import. Again, you can kind of go through all of these kits, make sure that they are the ones that you want to import. If there's anything in particular that you don't want to import, then removing it from here is going to save you space later down the track when you do want to import additional teams. One thing I did notice was in the Legends, we've actually got two sets of kits in there, the 2048 and the 1024. They're exactly the same kits from what I have seen. So what I personally do, just to avoid importing additional kits that I don't want, I just take a look at the file names. You can see they are Legends 1 away, PESUni. This is Legends 1 away, PESUni 1. So what I actually do is I remove the 2048s that I don't want to use because they take up more space than the 1024s, and then I just rename those kits to the default kit names so that they'll import without an issue. 2048, delete, 1024, jump in, rename the kits as required, and we're good to go. Outside of that, there isn't really anything that I've identified as being anything that I want to remove, so I'm pretty happy with that. The only other thing was that I do want to import the classics, so I'm just going to jump into where I've already got my classics files, which is this classics 1. We've got the competition file and logo already in there. We've got 20 pretty awesome classics teams, and I'm just going to drag that into my PES folder. So this is effectively what I'm going to be importing. The only thing is you can't import them in the same way. We do have in this folder some without anything in brackets after the name of the leagues, and then we've got some which say apply or apply data. So it's a different way of importing. I personally recommend running two separate imports because when you get to the import function within PES, it doesn't show the leagues, it shows the teams that you want to import. So checking on or off a whole bunch of teams is quite cumbersome. You might just prefer to run two separate imports, which is why I've got apply data and don't apply data, two blank folders. And what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to grab the competitions, doesn't matter so much. So I'm going to grab all the folders and I'm just going to remove the ones that say apply data, and I'm going to put them into two separate folders, right? The classics one is also one where you need to apply the data because they're brand new players and teams. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag those into don't apply data. And then all of the other teams where I'm going to need to apply the data, I'm going to drag them into apply data. I can now delete that PES folder because it's got nothing in it. And effectively now all I need to do is work out which set of teams I'm going to import first and rename it accordingly. So if I'm going to do the apply data first, I would call that PES and import that. Alternatively, if I'm going to do the don't apply data first, I'm going to rename that PES, and that is the folder that PES, once you jump in to import files, is going to find. So while I disconnect my hard drive, because we're ready to go, and I'll jump back into PES and we'll work out what we're going to do. So the first thing we need to do is jump into the edit mode. And for those of you who have already imported any images, any teams, any competitions, or if you have run through the tutorial, because when you run through the tutorial to import, the system does create some files straight off the bat. What you want to do is delete anything that already exists. Now I've already gone through the delete process, so what I'll find is that I don't have any image data available, but effectively what you're doing is jumping in to each of these items, and making sure that you absolutely clean out all of the data, the image data in your PES game. So that's step one. Make sure you've deleted absolutely every image for a super clean install. The next step is to jump back. You want to save that. And to be honest, I'm a bit finicky. So what I would actually do is jump out of the game and jump into the application save data management. You'll see that that will actually close the game. But if we just quickly close the game, jump into wherever it is that you store your data for PES, jump into the PES season update, delete the edit data, and that's just going to provide you with a super clean import of the option files. So jumping back into PES, that might take a few seconds. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is plug in my hard drive to the PlayStation 4. All right, so what you'll find is basically everything I'm doing here is in real time. So it should take you roughly the same amount of time to do all of this stuff, unless of course you've upgraded your PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro with an SSD drive. Something I had contemplated, but I think I'll just hold out for the PS5 now that we're so close. I'm actually a recent convert from FIFA. So I only got stuck into PES from PES 2020 after, the first time I played PES was PES 2005, I think, on PSP. Outside of that, I've been a FIFA guy, but man, loving PES and can't see myself moving back to FIFA anytime soon, especially with these option files that the PES Universe and PES Universe Legends guys create. So the first thing you want to do is apply the latest live update. That's step one once you're in PES. Again, we're running through this at real time, so there is going to be a bit of time that we're just going to have to wait for this stuff to happen. Like I said, I've plugged in my hard drive into the PS4 Pro, so we'll be able to get stuck straight into importing our option files once this is done. I really hope that the music from PES is actually coming through on the recording, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of radio silence. I might look to put a track over the top of it, but we'll see how we go. I want to try and get this video out as soon as possible. Alrighty, so we want to overwrite our saved data. And we are now ready to rock. We can start importing these files. So importing the files can take a little bit of time. Again, if you're running an SSD, that's obviously going to be quicker. But once our platform is ready, we can jump back into the settings. We can jump back into edit. And what we are going to do, remembering which option we've selected with regards to importing data or not. So we go to import/export and we want to import teams. You can import team data you have previously exported to a USB storage device, etc., etc. Grab your external hard drive or SSD or USB. And we want to just take a look at the teams, make sure that, yeah, they're all the ones that we wanted to import. So we've got Spanish teams, Spanish League 2, Italy. Now, these are the items that we do not want to overwrite the data for. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all, and we're just going to jump back to the top, and we're going to go to detailed settings. So we don't want to apply player and squad data. All we want to do is bring in the images and the logos. So we just select the bottom option, hit OK, and we wait for that to do its work. Again, this will take some time. I will try to speed it up, potentially, but if not, you're just going to have to sit and wait. Alright, so after 257 years, we have finally finished importing the data. No error messages, which is awesome. If you did receive any error messages, it's just recommended that you keep track of those teams that you had a problem with. You can always re-import them after the fact. So we finished importing the data. Next is we want to import competitions. So it's the same process, running through the hard drive, select all, go to detailed settings, and we just want to overwrite any images of the same name. This shouldn't be an issue regardless because we haven't imported anything previously, but that should just run hopefully without any issues. And that is done. Cool, so we're now done with regards to what we need to import from that first set. So what I'm going to do is just going to disconnect the hard drive from my PlayStation 4 and I'm going to reconnect it to my laptop. Now, after reconnecting it to my laptop, so this was the original folder where we needed to skip over applying the data. Now I have a feeling that maybe we might need to import the data for the Legends teams. So I've made a mistake there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that into the apply data folder. And I'm now going to rename this one because we've already used it. Don't apply data. Good if I could spell. And then I'm going to rename this one PES because we're now going to import all of this stuff and we need to apply the data as well to bring across all the players' details, etc. So once we've renamed that file, we can effectively just eject that hard drive, plug it back into the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro, and we run it back, essentially. We jump into import team. We select the hard drive that we want to use and we're going to select all. So again, it's just going to show you all the teams. So German League, Brazil, national teams, and our classics and our legends. So we just jump back up to the top, go to detailed settings. In this instance, we want to apply player and squad data as well as bringing across any images. Now, because I'd already imported the Legends teams, it would have brought across those images, so we definitely want to overwrite the images to make sure that we cover everything that we need to. So this one shouldn't take as long because there's only 70 teams in this particular import. But again, I'll try to speed that bit up for you guys. Alrighty, so we finished importing the data. Again, we're just going to click out of that. Okay. We're now going to import competitions. Again, same deal. We're just going to select all three, go to detailed settings, and we're going to hit OK. So there's only 3 in there because we had originally imported the competitions as part of the main option file, and we're good to go. Now, if you had included any additional images on your folder that you wanted to import, you can actually just jump in and look for those on your hard drive. So I showed you at the beginning of the video how you can grab or how you can replace certain images, but you can also just drop some new images onto the folder, onto the SSD or USB stick, and go through and grab them and import them. It won't automatically import them to a particular team. You will then need to go into the team and edit those as required. So I'll just show you what that looks like. If we go into teams, and we'll just have a look at the Premier League as a starting point, so you can see there Arsenal, Chelsea has come across. Arsenal was already in the game. Liverpool, Man City, Manchester United already in the game. Spurs. And if we just jump into, say, Chelsea, because I'm a Chelsea fan, we can jump into strips and actually take a look at what's come across. So outfield player first, so you can see that. Looks pretty slick. The second kit and the third kit, the Crystal Palace ripoff, and the goalkeeper jersey. So all good and looking awesome. If we jump into, say, Serie A, now I'm a Juve fan, so the first couple of kits there will be the original kits that come across as part of the game. But if you wanted to add a kit, you just hit add, select which one you want to add, outfield players third or fourth, and you can then jump in and actually paste images. So you can effectively look for any of those kits that you have uploaded as part of that import. And if you, say, wanted to use a classic Juve kit on the current Juve side, you can just jump down and try and find. There's a lot of kits that have been imported, obviously. So we just want to jump down and find those classic kits and then find the Juve ones. I think I may have gone too far, which I have. So we've got some classic Juve kits here. You've got the blue and the yellow stars, or the classic black and white stripes. You can just select that. That'll paste over the top of that particular kit. Now you might find that the names and numbers maybe don't fit properly and all that kind of stuff. So you can edit those by jumping into markings. And you'll see the name print, maybe a bit big, especially with some of the players' names being quite long, so you can readjust that as you want to. You can also make the font size a bit smaller so that hopefully it'll fit a bit better, and also change font colors and all that kind of stuff as well. Squad number is black on black there, so what you'd at least look to do is change the font color to white. You can see again it doesn't line up properly. So you can readjust that and make the size a bit smaller. Players with numbers like 44 and 87 and all that kind of stuff these days. So you can make changes there, as well as applying chess numbers generally for national teams. But the short number even, you can see that it's just sitting above the kappa sign. If you're a bit pedantic like myself, you can kind of move it across so it sits directly on top. You can make it a bit smaller as well if you wanted to, and change the colors and the font as well on each of those items. And that's how you import the kits, guys. And the leagues. The last thing I'll show you is how you can edit the competitions. So pretty importantly, you've got all the competitions that have come across, so Champions League. We've got, Serie A, Serie B, the Netherlands, the Spanish league. So those logos all come across as part of the import. But one important thing is the competition structure. The competition structure is important with regards to the draw size. So what you'll find is the Bundesliga only has 18 teams in it. So you want to change that to 18. We haven't imported either the J League because it's not ready yet, or the Classics 2. We do have Classics League 1. There are 20 teams there, so we'll just leave that as is. But we want to change the Bundesliga draw size to 18. And then what we want to do is jump into Europe, jump across to the Bundesliga. We can see here that we've got some teams that don't belong. And what we also have is under the other European teams, we've got some teams that do belong in the Bundesliga. So what we want to do is grab, say, Bayer Leverkusen, and I'm pretty sure that Lengerblitz is not in the Bundesliga. Also Salzburg. So we're going to swap them out for Bayern München. And I may have gotten that one wrong. I reckon that Lengerblitz, and I apologize for any Lengerblitz fans, might need to be swapped out for Saint Ragla. Now, I could be wrong. You can also rearrange these so that if you are, again, pedantic like myself, you can actually go through and put them into alphabetical order, but that's up to you guys. I'm not going to waste your time kind of doing that. And there you have it. You've got all your kits, all your teams, all your competitions sorted. Just make sure that you jump in and actually save that. And yes, we want to overwrite this data. Hit yes, and we're good to go. You can start playing with those new kits, new teams. Have fun.